everyone, and welcome back to Cobra Vids Under the Hood. Today we're going to be addressing something that you may have an issue with. In a lot of vehicles, you have this problem, and I wanted to explain the problem and how to diagnose so that you can diagnose it before you spend the money, because there's nothing worse than throwing money at a car and the problem not being resolved. So stick with us. There's another F150. This should be good for 2011, 2016-ish. I might be wrong about those years, but I believe that's the year I saw on the parts when I ordered them. So stick with us. Here we go. First off, if you've ever driven a car, pretty much any car, and you go over a bump, you're driving down a road and you go over a bump and it goes clunk, clunk, or clank, clank, clunk, right? That could be a number of things. It could be strut towers, it could be ball joints, upper or lower, it could be bushings, or it could be what I call dog bones, which are these guys right here. I'll show you up close in just a minute when we get started here. And what they are, they're actually called stabilizer links, and it's the sway bar. It's a bar that goes across your suspension, and it connects to each A-frame, each control arm, and that helps stabilize the vehicle when you're in a turn. I do have a video on my channel that you can go back and review, and it's pretty much universal. It's about my wife's 2017 Jetta. I do a inspection on it prior to moving to Texas, and I go over how to inspect the brakes, how to inspect the suspension and everything. And that video there is universal to pretty much any car out there. So if you want to find out how to do that, inspect all of the other components, then feel free to check that video out as well. But for today, we're going to concentrate on diagnosing the stabilizer links. What you do is, if you don't have any jerking, your ball joints are good, and you're going over a bump, just small bumps like that shift the wheel up and down, you're going to hear the clank or clunk. And if that's the only time that you're hearing it, chances are really good that it's the sway bar links, the stabilizer links. I say a lot of things like control arms or A-frames because that's what they were called way back when I started. Sway bars are now stabilizer bars. The slang changes, but the parts are pretty much all the same. They're just shaped differently. I've determined that it is the stabilizer links that are making the clunking noise. I am 90% sure, so that's why I went ahead and bought them. You can find them from $6 on Rock Auto all the way up to $50. I bought this truck pretty used, so I'm not too worried about using aftermarket parts. We paid about $30 for both links. They're going to last probably 50,000 miles, to be honest. We're going to go ahead and put them on, see how much luck we can have with them, and see if we can silence that up. Okay, so the first thing is I got to jack the car up, and I got to get the tire off so we can expose these here, and I'll show you some other signs to look for, especially when they are serviceable, greasable. So let's get that tire off. We'll be right back. And let me tell you something. There's nothing wrong with using your tire to sit on while you're working on your car. No problem at all. All right, so let's get in here kind of tight here. This is a perfect opportunity to take a look at your brakes, your rotors, and determine how soon you're going to have to get back in here to do the brakes. And if they're low enough, you might as well go ahead and get them done. It looks like these pads are really good. really good shape. I am getting some wobble in the front end, so when I'm applying my brakes, so that means warped rotors, and that could easily happen, so I'll have to check into that soon as well. All right, so now I want to start to look in here. This is the stabilizer link, and it resembles the part that I had bought. And you can see that somebody's been trying to pack the hell out of it with grease, and that's to try to keep it from making noise. Well, that's not going to do anything but make a mess like you see on there. There's a huge mess there. So I'm going to get something to put under this to catch some of this greasy crap that I'm going to be scraping off of this to clean it up. And then we'll start getting it taken apart. I'm hoping that the bolts come out without too much of a problem, because if they're stuck in there, then we may have to do some cutting or whatever, which is something I don't want to have to do today. So let's hope this goes pretty smoothly. So, all right, I'm going to get this one off, and then we'll prep the others for installation as soon as we get this off. If I have any issues or anything special to relay to you, I'll turn the camera back on and get that for you. But first I have to get a jack stand out, because eventually I'm going to have to lower this A-frame down so that this sway bar here, or stabilizer bar, has enough gap in it for me to get the link out. And I see up here a ball joint that is rubbing up against something, but you can see that that there is grease caked on this one too. We're gonna have to clean that up and see if that's a busted boot, or if somebody just got a little excited about pumping grease into it. We look at the strut. The strut looks like it is aftermarket, made in USA. That's a good thing. And the bushings of the strut looks a little worn out, a little cracking, but the bushings in the suspension, the control arms, they look really good. I don't see any ripping or anything to be concerned about. Like I said, on the road, this thing is very solid. It goes down the road nice and straight, so I don't think anything major is wrong with it. I think just the sway bar or the stabilizer links are bad, because there's a little ball joint in there that kind of moves around when the suspension is being contorted. So that's what I think is wrong with these. These actually feel pretty empty. For as much grease and crap is around here, that feels kind of empty. But all right, here we go. We're gonna get started. All right, one thing I want to mention is, in order to get better access to this bolt here, because I want to use a socket and a ratchet hopefully, I went ahead and turned the wheel all the way to the right so that it pulls the knuckle here out of the way. Hopefully I'll have easier access to that. Tip number one, guys. All right, what you might want to do if your bolts look kind of rusty is just to put some like brake free or something around the threads. Get them to soak in, because brake free is a penetrator, and it'll penetrate down in there kind of like liquid wrench, but I think it's a little better. I know someone might argue with me, but that's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. Alrighty guys, I wasn't lucky enough to get it off with just a ratchet. The ball joint is very loose in there. I think that's a sign that I had a bad one. But what I did was I got a flat jawed vice grips and put it at the top of that shaft, because there's a flat spot on there for doing this. I'm sure there's a special tool, but you guys that know me, I don't normally buy special tools. I try to use what I got to get the job done. But now as you can see, because I put that brake free on there, it's starting to go very, very quickly. And the bottom one, I'm using this bar. This is actually a chain link fence bar. It's just cut down to use as a cheater bar. And I was able to get it on the bottom here and start removing the bolt from there. To do the same thing on the bottom here. bottom here that I did on the top with the vice grips, which will be kind of a little more difficult because it's inside of a hole right there. So I'm hoping that that bolt, the bottom bolt, is coming out. That would make things a lot easier on me. Maybe once I get the top out, I can somehow bind that up by pushing it sideways or something. I don't know. I'll let you know how I get that bottom one out, definitely. Something that I'm not showing is the other side. You're going to want to do both sides at the same time because you have to lift up on the bar here in order to allow enough room to slip them in and out. So that's a tidbit of information. And don't do up your bolt here until your other side is in place as well. You might need a partner to go over there and guide it in as you're dropping the sway bar down onto the new shaft. And let me tell you or show you something. This one right here, hear that? That is the whole problem. This one here came off the other side. This was replaced. This is a newer one. It feels dry. The ball joint in them feels dry, but it was still good. So I'm going to go ahead and replace it because I have them, so I might as well, right? Exactly. So I'm going to go ahead and get the other one on there, at least the bottom part, and then I'll work on getting this one here off because I have to figure out some way to hold that shaft still while turning that nut, which is actually inside the A-frame. So I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I got to do it. Okay, these new ones are serviceable, meaning they have a grease zert on them. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little bit of like packing grease in there, but you can feel that the boots are empty. So these have to be filled before you use them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these grease zerts on. Oh, I don't know why they're called zerts. If anybody knows why they're zerts, maybe Mr. Zert invented them. I don't know. But if you know why they're called zerts, please educate us all down below. But okay, I'm going to go get my grease gun. I'm going to fill these in. And what you normally do with greasing ball joints and stuff is you grease them until you can see a little bit squish out. I don't know if I'm going to see it squish out because these rings are really tight on here. But at least I can see it bulge. And that should indicate enough for me that it has enough grease in there. So I'm going to get these greased up and I'll be right back as soon as I get this one mounted on the other side. All right, so the passenger side, I was able to get the bottom side off and the new one on there with the impact, and I was able to just zip it on and off, and it's nice and snug. This one's being a little bitch. So what we're going to be forced to do is I was able to get the nut off of it enough to where some of the threads of the bolt are sticking up right about here. So what I'm going to have to do is with one hand I'm going to have to hold this up and far out of the way. With the other hand I'm going to have to cut it with my cutting wheel. Oh wow, I didn't realize it was still recording, but you saw the effort that I had to go to get this, and I wound up just cutting through. I started cutting it, but then I wasn't able to get to it without nicking the A-frame there. So I went to try to ratchet it off. I got it a little bit further out on the stud, and then from there I was able to get the blade in there to cut it off. So that was definitely bad. It was obviously rocking and rolling in there. So all right, here's what we're going to do. First of all, I got to get the other one greased and ready to rock. Okay, so we got it ready. There's grease in each side because I could push here and it'll come up here. It'll push up on the opposite side, and that tells me that there's grease in there because it felt really floppy. Now it's nice and firm. Both sides are nice and firm, filled with grease. Time to install. And the other side, I was able to place this in its place And then from the bottom side, holding this with some channel locks, I was able to simply drive the impact up and it locked in. Well, that went easier than I thought. The bottom's nice and tight, so I'm happy with that. Now we just got to get the top half put back on. These are actually self-locking nuts. They have a little bit of Teflon or plastic or whatever, and that helps keep the nut from spinning back out freely. Now these do have an Allen hole up top that you can hold the shaft with and tighten. But if I could do the same thing as I did down below, that'll be much quicker, much easier. Okay, just to explain a little further, I hope the air compressor is not bothering the audio here. So once I got it in there, I used some channel locks to hold the shaft down below, and I just put my impact on there and bloop, zipped it right in there, let it impact on there a little bit. Turned out beautiful. Did the top one went right down, locked in. Everything's torqued down now and ready to rock and roll. So I just got to go tighten up the other side and we'll be done. We'll talk about the results in just a little bit. Alrighty guys, I'm going to go ahead and show you the passenger side here since it's open. Alright, so that's how it's supposed to look once it's all done. Everything's torqued down. The grease zerks are accessible if I need to grease them down again in the future. Maybe I will every time I do some work. Maybe we want to do the brake job. But yeah, that's going to work. We're going to go take it for a test drive. You want to come? Alright, let's go for a test drive, guys. Come with me. Alright guys, the last thing you want to do is you want to torque your lug nuts. And the 2013 F-150 is 150 pounds of torque. So like with any time you torque something down, you want to start with just snugging them up using a cross star pattern. Damn it. It feels like somebody used a socket that didn't belong on these, and it has damaged the lug nuts a little bit because a couple of them, this thing just will not work right on. So I might have to replace my lug nuts very soon. I usually go down but my wheel's facing the other way, so I'm just taking a hard road and alright, we got all showered up and cleaned up. So he started up just fine. There you go. Hey guys, what's up, man? Alright, we're gonna back out of here. And I'll know by the time I get down to the end of the road. So let's see what happens. Oh, I thought I was backing over something, but it was a branch rubbing up against the top of my truck. Whew! Talk about scaring the crap out of somebody. You know, I saw some wild turkeys on the property this morning, so we may be bagging us a couple turkeys. Wouldn't that be neat, huh? Alrighty. The noise is not necessarily ball joint or anything, because you only get it on the little bumps and you don't get it when you're jerking the wheel like this. which is very common. I'm not saying that that's the fact, but for the most part, it's very quiet. Still hear a little rattle, but it's not as bad. So I've quietened it down to about 70%. Not bad at all, guys. So, alrighty, guys. Well, that's going to wrap it up for the 2013 F150 EcoBoost stabilizer link replacements. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it helped out. Seeing me struggle, hopefully you don't struggle as much. Alright, guys, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. Give us a few likes here and there. Watch all of our other videos, because I can guarantee you there's going to be something in there that you are going to like or need to watch, and you might just laugh at us because some call me a dumb shit. But you know what? I have fun in life. Until next time, guys, stay safe, stay free. We'll see you on the next one.